Glad to have you with us here on this edition of Ravens Rundown, powered by Chat Sports. I am the somewhat capable host, Tyler Jones, here, and we're going to take an inside look into our NFL Daily program, where we did a mailbag answering questions from all across the National Football League, including on your Baltimore Ravens, as the folks were asking about the chances of the Ravens making moves for players like Haason Reddick and T. Higgins. Also, some questions about the draft. We'll go over all of that and more coming up on today's show. Before we do, want to make sure you're subscribed to the channel. We got full-on draft coverage next week, folks. Each and every day, we are going to be the place to be when it comes to the NFL draft here on Ravens Rundown, as we're going to be bringing you reaction to every pick, giving you our grades. And if any moves happen between now and then, you know we're going to talk about it here on the channel. We are the place to be all next week. Subscribe now. Don't miss a moment for the best draft coverage around. Subscribe now. YouTube.com/RavensTV. We just passed 16,000 subs, and we're not slowing down from there. Join the family. You'll be glad you did. Let's get started with today's show. Bob Saget, R.I.P. What a legend. Everywhere you look, everywhere's a heart, there's a heart. Full house. What are some top T. Higgins trade destinations? Any chance he could end up in the AFC North with the Ravens or the Steelers? So that's fascinating because the AFC North rivals of the Bengals, the Ravens and the Steelers, are both in the trade market. And it's no secret that the Steelers have shown interest in Brandon Ayuk. So you would have to think if they could somehow bring in T. Higgins, they'd be interested in that as well. I highly doubt the Bengals are interested in making any of their rivals better. And that also includes the Kansas City Chiefs, for that matter, because I think the Chiefs potentially could be interested in T. Higgins. So then, if I move out of the way of the Ravens and the Steelers and the Chiefs, other teams that are out there, the answer is no, they're not trading to the Ravens or Steelers or Chiefs. So then I go to the next core. Who could potentially use some receiver help across the National Football League? Well, Dallas Cowboys could use some receiver help. They don't really have much beyond CeeDee Lamb. They need another receiver to go along with CeeDee Lamb there. The Cowboys are one that comes to mind right out of the gates. Another team that I would be very interested is the Los Angeles Rams. You look, they have Cooper Kupp there, Matthew Stafford and company. That offense, they would love to find a way to take another step to try to compete with the San Francisco 49ers in that division. The LA Rams are one that intrigues me as well. But off the top of my head, Dallas as well as Los Angeles, also the Green Bay Packers. Trying to find some help for Jordan Love there. I think NFC teams, NFC contending teams, could be aggressive and make a potential deal for T. Higgins there. Let's ask you, will the Bengals trade T. Higgins? Y for yes, N for no. Weigh in our comment section. Let us know what you think. Are the Bengals going to make a deal? Let's make a deal. Or are they going to hang on to him and let the season play out? I tend to think they're going to hang on to him and let the season play out. But if they do trade him, probably one of those NFC contending teams. Y for yes, N for no. Let us know what you think. Today's show is sponsored by Prize Picks. Prize Picks, the place to go for daily fantasy made easy. Here's how it works. You choose two or more players in any given category. Get the choice of more or less, whether you're talking rebounds in basketball, maybe it's fantasy points in NASCAR, birdies in golf, goals in hockey, all sorts of different categories to choose from. And here's what I got on Prize Picks. Got a little look ahead to the NFL season. I got Lamar Jackson to have more than 3,600.5 passing yards. Also got DK Metcalf to have more than 1,025.5 receiving yards. If I put $20 down and both those hit, that's going to turn into $60 on Prize Picks, folks. Play along with me. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Promo code CLNS for a $100 deposit match on your first entry. The link is in the comments and description of today's video. Play along with us on Prize Picks. You'll be glad you did. The Don says, will we see the Eagles end up trading Haason Reddick? If so, where? The Don, thanks for that question there. Let's talk about the art of the deal, shall we? when it comes to Haason Reddick. Haason Reddick is interesting because we heard the initial report that he requested a trade, and then he denied it, said he didn't request a trade. He wants a new contract, and the Eagles can't give him the contract, yada, yada, yada. You get the idea. So then, who could be in the market for Haason Reddick? I got two teams in particular that come to mind. The Baltimore Ravens, number one. He feels like a Baltimore Raven, right? I mean, we know how the Ravens are when it comes to being aggressive on defense, looking for edge rushers. I think he could be a good fit with Baltimore as far as that goes. The Atlanta Falcons, that's a team that's made some aggressive moves. Not just Kirk Cousins, who they brought in, but Darnell Mooney, among others here. The Falcons are going all in, and I think the Falcons are going to be a contending team in the NFC. They could use some help on that defense. I think he'd be a good fit in Atlanta there. Those are the two teams that come to mind specifically. I also wouldn't rule out potentially maybe a team like the Seattle Seahawks, who bring in a defensive-minded head coach in Mike Macdonald. I'm sure he would love to have Haason Reddick as one of his premium defensive players there. So those are a few teams that come to mind. The Don, it's not going to be cheap. I will say, though, the longer this drags on, the more the price tag drops for Haason Reddick. They were looking for about a first-round pick, Philadelphia was, when this was first brought up a while back. Now you might be able to get this done with like a second and a fifth, potentially, for Haason Reddick. We'll see. Where will Haason Reddick play next season? Is he back in Philadelphia? Is he in Baltimore? Is he somewhere else? Weigh in the comment section, let us know. Give us your prediction. Where does Haason Reddick ultimately go? Cameron writes in, who do you think would be a good fit for the Bills at number one wide receiver this year in the draft? Brian Thomas Jr. That's the name that jumps to mind right away. I think there's a chance, a pretty decent chance, he's going to be available when the Bills pick at 30. Maybe they trade up a couple spots, potentially get him. But Brian Thomas Jr., if not him, this is a loaded receiver class. You're looking at other guys like Adonai Mitchell, Xavier Worthy, Keon Coleman, Ladd McConkey, potentially. There's some guys, but Brian Thomas Jr., I think, is probably the best fit for what the Bills are looking for. And here's the thing. You can't replace a guy like Stephon Diggs overnight, but adding Brian Thomas Jr. could make things easier. And remember, it's not just the fact that they're trying to replace Stephon Diggs here. They got to replace Gabe Davis as well. I think the Bills are going to take a significant step back in 2024. Sleepy Joe writes in, who's the best QB prospect outside of Caleb Williams in the 2024 draft? Some people are going to disagree with me here, but I have been a Drake May fan for a long time. I like him better than I do Jaden Daniels. I know Daniels won the Heisman Trophy and all that. He was fantastic this year. I'm not taking anything away from what Jaden Daniels did, but I have concerns about his body holding up in the National Football League with how much he runs. He's built a little thin as well. I think Drake May looks more like a pro quarterback. He reminds me of Justin Herbert. Drake May would be the next quarterback I'd take after Caleb Williams. And I think that Drake May, in years where there's not a Caleb Williams, we'd be looking at him going as the number one quarterback. I think he's that talented of a prospect. I thought that he got the most out of those North Carolina teams that didn't have a ton of talent around him. That, to me, is the name I'd watch out for, is Drake May. He's my second favorite quarterback in this class. LeBron James is sunshine, writes in. What will the Vikings do? Will they trade up or stay? As we record this, I feel very confident that the Vikings are going to trade up to the number 5 pick that is currently held by the Los Angeles Chargers, which ironically enough is coached by Jim Harbaugh, J.J. McCarthy's former coach. I think the Vikings are going to package their picks, move up to 5, go get McCarthy, probably start Sam Darnold to begin the year, and eventually hand things over to J.J. McCarthy to be the guy. And here's another thing. I'll say this about J.J. McCarthy. The big knock on J.J. has been that he never had to go out there and carry a team on his back. He never had to be the guy at Michigan because of how physical and how good their run game was, and had a great offensive line, had the best backfield in college football. If he goes to Minnesota, we're going to find out real fast how good J.J. McCarthy actually is, because you get to play with Justin Jefferson, and that Minnesota Vikings offense is going to want to throw the football. They're going to want to toss the rock around the yard. So JJ, I do think, is going to be a Viking. I do think the Vikings trade up to 5, but don't rule out some potential other teams to be aggressive. We know the Seahawks really like J.J. McCarthy. John Schneider's had multiple good meetings with him. The Raiders, I wouldn't rule out possibly, but the Vikings sound like they got the most capital to potentially make that trade. Last question coming in from Sark. All gas, no brakes. Could the Texas Longhorns land 3 players in the first round of the 2024 NFL Draft, including Byron Murphy, Xavier Worthy, and Adonai Mitchell? Yes, they could, but a couple things have to go their way, right? Murphy feels like a solid first-round pick. Adonai Mitchell feels like a solid first-round pick. Worthy, it's going to be close. If I had to put a number on it, I say they get 2. Not all 3. I think Worthy is probably the odd man out. But if there's a run on receivers, then that could open the door for, let's say, a team like Kansas City or Baltimore to go ahead and go with Worthy there. But I think at least 2 for sure, Murphy and Mitchell, but Worthy outside chance. We'll see. Who's the player you want your team to draft? Is it one of those Texas Longhorns? Is it a guy like J.J. McCarthy who we talked about earlier, or Drake May? Weigh in the comment section to let us know a player you want your team to draft. Thanks for joining us here on the program. Subscribe now for free as we get you ready for the NFL Draft. Some exciting stuff ahead over the next couple days. We will see you next time. Thanks for joining us.